Welcome back to the Core Cars News Tech Lab. Today we're answering your core car related questions. Now, I do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm still doing that right here on our YouTube channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, for about an hour. But sometimes some questions need a deeper dive than I can do there. Questions are flying by, and I'm trying to answer as many as I can. So every now and then we do these special Core Car and Q&As where I dive deep into just a couple questions. Today we're going to look at new Rokus and new Apple TVs. Now, there's been rumors for a while of new products, and I wanted to answer your questions because I get asked this almost every week. Will there be a new Roku? Will there be a new Apple TV? Will there be a new Fire TV? So let's dive into it, starting with Roku up first. But also, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. It really does help us. Hit that thumbs up. Hopefully we can help you save some money. All right, so new Rokus this year are pretty likely. Roku almost every year rolls out new streaming players. We did get a minor update late last year. Some changes. We got the Roku Premier line that came out that added to the Rokus a very cheap 4K bottom in line, but didn't really change much of anything else. The Roku Ultra is pretty much unchanged for the last few years. Now they have made some minor changes, new remotes, new earbuds last year, but that's it. The actual device itself is exactly the same. So remember that we may get a new update of Roku this year, but don't expect a whole lot with it. But what do we know? We do know there's a ton of new Roku TVs coming, including 8K Roku TVs, new 75-inch Roku TVs. Currently the Max have been 65-inch. You can order the 75-inch at Best Buy right now, link in the show notes down below to a full post about the 75-inch and 8K. But the Roku players is the big thing people want, and I would expect an update. Now there's two time frames that Roku always rolls out new updates in. First is the spring time frame. We're talking April, May-ish, even sometimes late March, early June. So maybe that could be the window to look at this. That's often when we see new streaming players. Sometimes sticks are most popular there, and it's been a while since we've gotten a major update in the Roku stick line. Some of the most popular streaming players on the market right now. Absolutely love mine for travel. But we often see the streaming players in the fall, coming out just in time for the Christmas shopping season, maybe a September, October announcement with a launch no later than like Halloween, so that's all set up for the November, December Christmas buying season. So that's when I would expect maybe a Roku Ultra to come out, though they have fooled us in the past with it being earlier. So keep a close eye on this. We have nothing firm at this time, but what we do know is some of the Roku players are starting to get older when it considers the lifespan of streaming players. Most companies update every 2 to 3 years. A few Rokus this year will be 3 years old. So that does lend itself to the idea that we will be getting a new one. So keep an eye on that. We know for sure new Roku TVs. We know that it's very likely that we'll get at least a new streaming stick this year, if not updated Roku Ultra, which I know a lot of people have been very excited about. Now, what about the Apple TV? Now, Apple has been a little harder to read on this because they have times where they go years and don't touch their Apple TV line. Actually, a few years ago, before the Apple TV 4 came out, there was even rumors that Apple wasn't even going to ever put any effort into the Apple TV. Remember that? Didn't have an app store. If you wanted to get an app on it, you basically had to have some type of personal relationship with Apple to get it on there, it felt like. And then came along the Apple TV 4. And suddenly Apple seemed to be very interested in their Apple TV line again. They brought an app store that anybody could bring apps to. They later on, about 2 years later, brought out the Apple 4K TV, which was a huge improvement over the older Apple 4. Brought 4K HDR support, something Apple was lagging behind on at the time. Now there's a few things here. Now the Apple TV 4K is perfectly fine. The power of it, it's very nice. It's excellent. The main complaint I hear about it is the remote. But when it comes to the hardware side, it can run pretty much everything we want to do right now. The only thing that hardware may not be able to do at the moment is 8K. With Roku and others looking at rolling out 8K support, Apple may make that jump this year. But that's not very Apple. Apple typically waits and releases their products after everybody else has had theirs on the market for a while. Then they jump in and release their version of it. We saw it with the Apple TV 4. We saw that with the Apple TV, where Apple TV 4, 4K, HDR was very widely available on Roku, available on the Fire TVs, but not on Apple. It wasn't until 2 years after that it came out to the Apple TV. But we've heard a lot of rumors about an Apple stick, a lot of people are calling it. We're not sure if this is really a stick, but there has been talk of a cheaper Apple TV. And this is why I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Apple do this year. I do believe that Apple is primed for a new release. We have heard a lot of rumors of a new cheaper device. A lot of people have translated to an Apple TV stick, like the Roku stick or the Fire TV stick. And I'm not sure if it's a stick. What I wouldn't be surprised to see is Apple take out the hard drive, or at least dramatically shrink it. Because for most people, they don't use their Apple TV for video games. And if you're not using your Apple TV for video games, you can't really take full advantage of that hard drive. I think Apple could have a very dominant product if they would allow you to take the Apple TV, download content, and travel with it. If I could download a ton of movies and TV shows on my Apple TV, because it's got a nice size hard drive, take that with me when I travel, and have all this preloaded where I don't need to worry about internet. Hey, if I'm renting a cottage like I did a couple of years ago, take my kids there, you know, now we know, hey, if there's a rainy day, I can plug in the Apple TV, we can watch a movie, and we can all have some fun. Or maybe at night, after we've, you know, been swimming, we could sit and we could watch a movie in the camper or at the cottage and not have to worry about internet. I think Apple would have a great product. Unfortunately, they don't really allow you to do that, where you can't go into iTunes and download to the hard drive. At least they could. Last time I checked, if they added that, let me know, because I'd love to have that feature. But I think what we're hearing rumors of is that hard drive coming out. It's one of the more expensive parts of the Apple TV, and allow them to get closer to that $100 mark. Right now, Apple starts at about $150. And to $179, depending on what you want. And I think if Apple could get to that $100 mark, they could dramatically increase their market share. That'll put them right in line with the Rokus and the Fire TVs. But when some of the higher end Apples are more than $100 versus their competition, and really the competition, the specs on it are relatively similar, I think Apple has a problem there. So yes, I do believe the rumors that Apple is at least considering a cheaper version. Now, I know there's been some people say, I have my sources that say that's not happening, but we've got plenty of other people say, yes, we have heard that Apple is at least in development of a cheaper one. Apple, again, TV announcements like this are typically in the fall, so I wouldn't be surprised if we wait. But even though Apple typically does that, we know that according to reports, next month in March 2019, Apple will be announcing their new TV service that's pretty much going to be focused on Apple products. You're going to need an Apple device to make it work. And from there, you could cast it to like an AirPlay supported device, as you see with Apple rolling out AirPlay 2 support to a bunch of smart TVs, and even rumored to be in talks with Roku to add AirPlay 2 support. So you could take your iPad or your iPhone and cast it to your Roku, cast it to your TV, and more. All with the expectation of the new service. Now, a cheaper streaming player may be coming out. Maybe not that time, because the rumor is that the service will be announced in March, but won't come out for some time. It won't be until later on this year where you'll actually be able to subscribe to it and use it, depending on what the pricing is on it. So I won't be surprised if we get the announcement now, but closer to the time the service releases, get a cheaper Apple TV that's more focused on streaming to supplement their new streaming service. So keep an eye on that. I'll be very interested to see what they do, what they don't do with that. Lastly, the Fire TV. Will we get a new Fire TV this year? Possible. So we got the pendant not that long ago. We got the new 4K stick. And really, does Amazon need to bring a new Fire TV device? I don't know. That's a good question, and it's a hard one to answer. I don't expect a new stick this year. Apple seems to be pushing people towards the Fire TV 4K stick, and probably will phase out the HD version of it as 4K technology becomes cheaper, and often the 4K stick is for sale for less than $40. Why have a standard cheaper HD version at this moment? The pendant design was replaced with the cube and the 4K stick. So we'll wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised maybe a higher end box to replace the cube, but the cube is so new, it doesn't make any sense. So if Amazon is going to roll out a device this year, I'm not sure how that would line up. It could be that they do try to make a cheap bottom end device to compete with Roku's $30 Fire TV, Roku Express, to compete with the Fire TV stick type area. But for now, I haven't heard any rumors of a new Fire TV this year. Could happen. It seems like for now, Amazon is very happy with their lineup. Well, there you go. There are the rumors and the deep dive into all the new streaming players I've heard rumors of. But let's throw in one bonus real quick. The NVIDIA Shield. Will there be a new one? I'm not sure. Probably not this time. NVIDIA seems very happy with their device. About a year ago, they came out with a updated second generation NVIDIA Shield. Closer to 2 years ago now. Wow, time flies. And it's still very powerful. It's still one of the most powerful streaming players. Fully capable of 4K and HDR and all the other stuff you will want right now. Could they come out with an 8K version soon? Maybe. We'll wait and see. NVIDIA has continued to support the NVIDIA Shield, but it hasn't been a front and center product for a little while, and that could be an interesting to see how dedicated they are to it. If they are going to do it, they typically do it at CES in January, so we may have to wait until 2020 in January to find out about a new NVIDIA Shield. Otherwise, Android TV devices, your guess is as good as mine. We've had a flood of some lower-end devices. We've had a new head of Android TV. I'll put a link to an interview I had with their new product head, who talked about some changes they're going to make to it. We're probably going to get a new user interface. They're going to set some minimum standards for hardware, similar to what they do for phones. So there you go. Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV updates on new hardware for 2019. What do you think? What would you like to see? If you could get anything from any of these devices, leave me a comment, let me know. I'll love to hear from you. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. It really does help us, and hopefully we can help you save some money.